headquarters. It's our absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be part of this.
Careful, Your Majesty. That's the chasm. That's the last place you want to end up here. Excuse the timing, if you would. Triss must be just finishing up in her fear landscape.
Her what?
Her fear landscape. Here at Dauntless, we pride ourselves in bravery, and we believe the only way to conquer your fear is by facing them head on.
So she's just like scaring herself in there?
Exactly. You must know something about bravery. I imagine being the first queen of Hawaii is pretty nerve-wracking.
You can say that again. My older brother became king after my father, but when he passed away, I became sole heir to the throne.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's a shame, but due to his death, I became princess and adopted my royal name.
Your royal name?
Yes, when I took the throne of Hawaii, I was forced to switch my name. My original name was Lydia Kamakaya. Not to be rude, but do you mind me asking why you're here? I was under the impression that I was being interviewed by Triss.
Oh, not to worry. I'm a writer. Triss has asked me to document this interview in case we need a future reference of it for whatever reason.
A writer? What books have you written?
I've written about 21 books, but my most famous are Crime and Punishment and Notes from the Underground.
Really? I think I've heard Notes from the Underground. That's the stream of consciousness, right?
Yes, exactly. I write many of my books based on my philosophical beliefs and my value of self-realization. Where have you heard of my book before?
Well, being the Queen of Hawaii, I became very interested in the education of my citizens, and we use your novel as a source of literature for the students to learn from.
Excuse me for being late. I had some things I had to finish up.
Oh, you're Trish Pryor?
Yes, is there a problem?
No, not at all. I just assumed you'd be a little bit older.
That's understandable. But no, I'm 16 years old.
She finished first in her class.
What does that mean?
Everyone by the age of 16 has to go through the choosing ceremony where they will decide which faction they will spend the rest of their lives in. Each faction has a different initiation, and Dauntless is like a tryout. All new initiates are put through a test, and if you finish in the top 10 of the rankings, you get to stay. If you're not, you're exiled. The higher your ranking through, the more privileges you get, such as conducting this interview.
That reminds me of my time at Cortoga.
What is that?
It was a prison camp I was sent to when I was exiled from Siberia for 4 years. They accused me of distributing documents that were banned, but I was only using them as a literary monument.
We're getting off topic. Follow me if you would. Your Highness, would you like a hamburger? We have the best food in our faction.
No, I'm all set. Thank you, though.
So you're aware that Fyodor is here to document this interview, correct?
I already explained that to her.
Shall we begin?
I'm ready when you are. Where should we start?
Well, the reason why I asked you to the Dauntless headquarters today, I asked you to have an important interview with you about your opinion on the Boxer Rebellion, because I wanted to get an opinion from someone of royalty.
The Boxer Rebellion?
Yes, the Boxer Rebellion.
I'm afraid to say, but I'm not quite familiar with the Boxer Rebellion.
Really? Fyodor, you've heard of the Boxer Rebellion, right?
I actually haven't.
Well, I'll explain it all to you because I love this topic. It reminds me of something that happened recently.
Alright.
Basically, in 1900, there was an uprising in northern China led by a Chinese secret organization called the Society of the Righteous and Harmonious Fist, compromised mostly of peasants that attempted to prevent the spread of Western influence from mostly Japanese and Europeans in fear it was compromising the Chinese culture. These rebellious warriors were referred to as boxers by the Westerners, mostly because of the extraneous physical training they did that they believed would make them be able to withstand a bullet.
That's ridiculous.
That kind of sounds like when my brother was forced the bayonet constitution.
How is that the same?
Well, like you said, the Boxers were fighting because they felt as though their culture was being taken away by the Westerners. When my brother signed that document, he was basically handing over the most of our family's control of Hawaii to the Americans and Europeans, and along any of my cultures associated with Hawaii.
I see, but why did the Westerners come into China?
Well, it didn't really happen all at one time. Over the course of the Opium Wars and the Sino-Japanese War, China had an increase of Western and Japanese foreigners. These foreigners stayed in China but continued to spread the beliefs of their homeland.
What did the Boxers do about it then?
They did not handle the situation lightly. They attacked and killed Westerners and burned down Catholic churches. They even invaded China's capital, Beijing, because it was where the official quarters was located.
That's terrible.
Indeed it was. But now back to the main question, what side would you have supported?
I definitely would have been supportive of the Boxers for sure. I grew up in Moscow as a poor peasant, so I know just as well as anyone how difficult it is to provide for a family out there. And if the peasants felt as if they were being invaded by the Westerners and losing land because of it, I would definitely want to prevent that.
You used to be poor?
Very. My father was a doctor, but we still lived in the poor district on the edge of Moscow. It was terrible there. When I was a young child, I saw so many sick patients. I could never do anything for myself either because my whole childhood was centered around helping the patients out.
I can relate to that. Before I was a member of Dauntless, I was abnegation, and everything we had to do was the benefit of someone else. And to do anything for ourselves was considered selfish.
So you would have sided with the Boxers then too?
Not even a question.
Why so obvious?
Exactly what happened in my own faction.
How so?
Well, Erudite, the smartest of all factions, had been very greedy for power for a while, and they had all the members of Dauntless fitted with a mind control device that they could force to attack us in the other factions. But ironically, the whole idea was to evenly spread power and prevent war.
So you were just like special soldiers?
That's kind of like how the Boxers thought they couldn't be killed.
Exactly. So my reasoning for being a boxer wouldn't be to side with the peasants, but more because I know I've been taken from you and forced to do something else.
What about you, Your Majesty? Surely you must have an opinion.
Oh, I do. I sided with Triss on this because I too was forced into giving something I didn't want to.
Was it when your brother signed the Bayonet Constitution?
Yes, sir. The Constitution was designed for me to strip me and my family of most of my power and assign it to the leaders in America and Europe.
So you can empathize with the Boxers because the Westerners forced their beliefs on them?
Exactly. When my brother was forced to sign that document, I realized we were pretty much giving up the traditions of Hawaii to be controlled by the same places that invaded China during the Boxer Rebellion.
Wow, so it seems like we're all in agreement on this topic.
Thank you, Triss. Thank you, Mr. Dostoevsky. I thought this interview went great.
I'm very happy with the way it went as well.
I should head out. I don't have to jump off a roof into a net again, do I?
Not quite. You better hurry because the train is going to be here